The rain hammered against the restaurant's grimy windows like thousands of tiny fists demanding entry. I stood in the back kitchen of Giovanni's, my fingers pruned from dishwater, my back aching from 12 straight hours of bussing tables and scrubbing pans. The scent of garlic and burnt tomato sauce clung to my uniform. A faded black polo shirt 2 sizes too large, and pants that had seen better days 3 years ago. "Delivery." Marco's voice cut through the clatter of dishes. Table 7 called in. Penthouse suite at the Obsidian Tower. Big tip if you're fast. I wiped my hands on my apron, already calculating. The Obsidian Tower was 30 minutes across the city. Gas money. Rent was due in 3 days, and I was still 200 short. My daughter's prescription sat unfilled at the pharmacy. The pharmacist's sympathetic smile burned into my memory from this afternoon. "I'll take it," I said, my voice hoarse from exhaustion. Marco's eyebrows lifted. "It's nearly midnight, Sarah. That neighborhood... I need the money." I didn't wait for his protests. I'd heard them all before. Single mother, dangerous city, a 24-year-old woman with no protection. But danger was relative when you'd already lost everything that mattered. The delivery bag was warm against my chest as I pushed through the back door into the alley. Rain soaked through my jacket immediately, cold rivulets running down my neck. My beat-up Honda sat beneath a broken streetlight, rust eating through the doorframe. I'd bought it for $800 6 months ago, the most expensive thing I owned besides my daughter's crib. The city streets glistened black, reflecting neon signs that advertised massage parlors and pawn shops. I drove with both hands gripped on the wheel, windshield wipers losing their battle against the downpour. The Obsidian Tower loomed ahead like a dark monolith, all glass and steel, utterly foreign to my world of cracked linoleum and flickering fluorescent lights. The parking garage attendant barely glanced at me, waving me toward the service entrance with disinterest. I grabbed the insulated bag and hurried toward the elevators, my sneakers squeaking against polished marble floors. Everything here gleamed. The walls, the floors, even the air seemed cleaner, perfumed with something expensive I couldn't name. The elevator ascended silently. My reflection in the mirrored walls looked small, drowned in oversized clothing, dark circles under my eyes, hair escaping its ponytail in wet strands. I looked away. The penthouse floor opened into a private vestibule, soft lighting, a single door at the end of a short hallway. No sounds except the whisper of ventilation and my own breathing. I knocked twice. Silence. I knocked again. Harder. Delivery from Giovanni's. The door opened a crack, and I found myself staring at a wall of muscle in an expensive black suit. The man's face was stone, his eyes flat and assessing. A scar ran from his temple to his jaw. "The food," I said, lifting the bag slightly. My voice wavered. Something felt wrong. The air tasted metallic, sharp. The door opened wider. The man stepped aside. Inside. "I just need a signature. Inside." Not a request. My instincts screamed at me to run. But I thought of the pharmacy, of my daughter's fever last night, of the eviction notice tucked into my purse. I stepped over the threshold. The penthouse stretched before me like something from a magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the rain-drenched cityscape, lightning occasionally illuminating clouds in brilliant flashes. Dark leather furniture. Abstract art on the walls. The scent of expensive cologne and cigar smoke. 4 men stood in the living area. They turned as one when I entered, and every cell in my body recognized predators. They wore casual clothes, jeans, leather jackets, but they moved with coordinated precision. One held a gun casually at his side. My hands went numb. The delivery bag slipped, and I caught it clumsily. "Who the fuck is this?" one of them demanded. His accent thick. Eastern European? Maybe Russian? "Delivery girl," the scarred man behind me said. "She just arrived." They looked at each other, some silent communication passing between them. My heart hammered so hard I could feel it in my throat. "Bad timing, sweetheart," the man with the gun said. He was younger than the others, maybe 30, with cold blue eyes. "Very bad timing. I'll just..." I backed toward the door, but the scarred man blocked my path. A sound from the hallway made everyone freeze. Footsteps, confident, unhurried. The 4 men tensed, weapons appearing in hands with practiced speed. The door opened. He entered like he owned not just the penthouse, but the entire building, the city, the very air. Tall, well over 6 feet, with broad shoulders beneath a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my yearly salary. Dark hair pushed back from a face that could have been carved from marble, all sharp angles and ruthless lines. 2 men flanked him, their suits equally expensive, their eyes constantly scanning. But it was his eyes that trapped me. Dark, almost black, they swept the room with the kind of cold assessment that made my breath catch. This was a man who calculated outcomes, who weighed lives like coins, who inspired fear without saying a word. Those eyes found me, and for a fraction of a second something flickered there. Surprise? Confusion? Then his gaze moved to the 4 intruders, and his expression became utterly empty. "Gentlemen," he said, his voice deep, controlled, with an accent I couldn't place. Maybe Italian, but smoothed by years of something. "I don't recall inviting you. Konstantin Volkov sends his regards," the man with the gun said, raising the weapon. "Your time is up, Dante Moretti." The name hit me like a slap, Dante Moretti. Even I, who avoided news and lived in my small bubble of survival, had heard whispers of that name, the city's ghost king, the man who controlled everything from the shadows. Mafia boss, murderer, untouchable. And I was standing in his penthouse while 4 men pointed guns at him. Dante's expression didn't change. "I see Konstantin still lacks imagination. Sending 4 men?" His lips curved slightly, not quite a smile. "He overestimates me or underestimates you. Either way, disappointing." Enough talk. Everything happened at once. The 4 men moved simultaneously, weapons rising. Dante's bodyguards reacted, reaching for their guns. Time seemed to slow, every detail crystallizing with horrifying clarity, and I moved. I didn't think. Thinking was for people with options, with safety nets, with futures. I was a woman who'd survived an abusive relationship, who'd fled with nothing but her daughter and a desperate hope. I was someone who'd learned that sometimes you fought, not because you were brave, but because you had no other choice. My hand found the delivery bag. The metal containers inside, heavy, hot, solid. I swung. The bag connected with the nearest gunman's wrist with a crack that echoed through the penthouse. His weapon flew from his grip, skittering across the marble floor. Scalding marinara sauce exploded from the container, spraying across his face. He screamed. I dove for the fallen gun. My fingers closed around cold metal just as hands grabbed my shoulders, yanking me backward. I twisted, drove my elbow into soft tissue, a technique learned from 3 months of self-defense classes I'd taken after leaving my ex. The man grunted, his grip loosening. Gunfire erupted. The sound was deafening, nothing like the movies. Glass shattered. Someone shouted in Italian. I hit the floor. The gun clutched against my chest, my ears ringing. A body fell beside me, one of the intruders, blood blooming across his shoulder. His eyes met mine, wide with shock and pain. Strong hands gripped my arm, pulling me behind the leather couch. I found myself pressed against solid muscle, surrounded by the scent of expensive cologne and gunpowder. Dante Moretti held me against him, one arm around my waist, his other hand holding his gun with steady precision. "Stay down," he commanded, his voice against my ear sending shivers down my spine despite the chaos. I couldn't have moved if I wanted to. His body was a wall of heat and controlled violence, his heartbeat steady against my back while mine tried to escape my chest. Through the gap beneath the couch, I watched polished shoes moving, heard grunts and the wet sound of fists hitting flesh. It was over in less than 2 minutes. When Dante finally released me, standing in one fluid motion, I remained on the floor, trembling. I looked up to find all 4 intruders subdued, 2 unconscious, one bleeding and groaning, one held at gunpoint by Dante's bodyguards. Dante straightened his suit jacket, barely disheveled. His eyes found me again, and this time they lingered, traveling from my face down to the gun still clutched in my white-knuckled grip. "An interesting delivery girl," he said softly, extending his hand. "Who taught you to move like that?" I stared at his hand. Manicured nails, a platinum watch that probably cost more than my car, a scar across his knuckles that spoke of violence. This was the hand of a man who'd killed, who ordered deaths over breakfast, who lived in a world I couldn't begin to understand. But I took it, because what choice did I have? His grip was firm, controlled, pulling me to my feet effortlessly. He didn't release my hand immediately. Instead, his thumb brushed across my knuckles, a gesture so gentle it seemed impossible from a man who just orchestrated a precision takedown of 4 armed attackers. "What's your name?" he asked. "Sarah." My voice came out barely above a whisper. "Sarah Mitchell. Sarah." He said it like he was tasting the syllables, memorizing them. "You just saved my life." I shook my head. "Your men would have been half a second too late." His eyes held mine, and I saw something dangerous there, something that made my stomach flip. That half second matters. In my world, it's everything. One of his bodyguards cleared his throat. "Boss, we need to clean this up. And her, she stays," Dante said, never looking away from me. "We have much to discuss, Sarah Mitchell." The way he said my name felt like a chain clicking into place. They moved with terrifying efficiency. Within minutes, the 4 attackers were gone, dragged to the service elevator by men who appeared from nowhere, all wearing the same expensive suits, the same cold expressions. No one spoke except in clipped Italian phrases I couldn't understand. Blood was cleaned from the marble floor with industrial precision. The shattered window was covered with plastic sheeting that appeared from some hidden storage. I stood frozen by the couch, still holding the gun, watching this choreography of criminal competence unfold around me. "Give me that before you hurt yourself." I turned to find Dante behind me, close enough that I could see the faint stubble along his jaw, smell the cedar and bergamot of his cologne mixed with cordite. He held out his hand for the weapon. I surrendered it, my fingers tingling as they left the cold metal. He checked the safety with practiced ease, then handed it to one of his men without looking. His attention remained fixed on me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. "Sit. You're shaking." I was. My knees felt like water, adrenaline crashing through my system in waves. I sank onto the leather couch, and he sat across from me in a matching armchair, leaning back with the casual confidence of a man utterly in control. "Wine?" he offered. "I don't drink." The lie came automatically. I couldn't afford to drink, couldn't afford to lose even a moment of alertness when I had a 3-year-old daughter depending on me. His lips quirked. "Smart. I appreciate that." He gestured to one of his men. "Water. And something to eat that isn't covering the floor." The man disappeared silently. We sat in silence for a moment. Outside, lightning illuminated the city in brilliant flashes, rain continuing its relentless assault on the windows. I became acutely aware of how I must look. Soaked uniform, disheveled hair, smelling like restaurant grease and fear sweat. "Where did you learn to fight?" Dante asked finally. "I took a self-defense class, 3 months, twice a week." I twisted my hands in my lap. "At the community center. It was free." "And you remembered enough to disarm a professional killer in a crisis situation?" He tilted his head slightly, studying me like I was a puzzle. "Impressive. I have a good memory for things that might keep me alive." Something shifted in his expression. Recognition, perhaps. Understanding. "You've been in danger before." It wasn't a question, but I answered anyway. "My ex-boyfriend. I left 2 years ago. Took my daughter and ran." "And he let you go?" I met his eyes. "He didn't have a choice. I made sure of it." For the first time, Dante smiled. A real smile that transformed his face from intimidating to devastating. "I believe you did." The bodyguard returned with bottled water and a tray of food from somewhere. Fresh bread, cheese, fruit that looked like it cost more per pound than my hourly wage. My stomach growled traitorously. "Eat," Dante commanded softly. "You've earned it." I wanted to refuse, wanted to maintain some dignity, but I hadn't eaten since my lunch break 8 hours ago. I took the water first, then a piece of bread, trying not to devour it like the starving woman I was. Dante watched me eat with that same unsettling focus. Finally, he leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I need to know everything about you, Sarah. Where you live, where you work. Who knows you were making this delivery? Cold dread settled in my stomach. Why? Because Konstantin Volkov sent those men. When they don't report back, he'll investigate. He'll find the delivery order, trace it to you. His voice remained calm, matter of fact, like he was discussing the weather. He'll assume you're connected to me, and he'll come for you. The bread turned to ash in my mouth. I'm nobody. I just deliver food. I have a daughter, which is precisely why you need my protection. He stood, moving to the window, his silhouette backlit by city lights. Konstantin doesn't care about innocence. To him, you're a witness, a liability. He'll eliminate you without hesitation. My hands trembled, water sloshing in the bottle. What do you want from me? He turned, and the look on his face made my breath catch. I want you to disappear. Tonight, you and your daughter. I'll provide a safe house, security, everything you need. I can't just disappear. I have a job, responsibilities. You had a job. His tone hardened slightly. The moment you walked into this penthouse, your old life ended. You can either accept that and let me protect you, or you can go home and wait for Konstantin's men to find you. They won't be as merciful as I am. The word merciful from a mafia boss would have been laughable in any other context. But I'd seen the bodies dragged away, seen the cold efficiency of his organization. This man dealt in violence and control, and now I was caught in his web. My daughter, I whispered. She's with my neighbor, Mrs. Chen. She babysits when I work night shifts. Dante pulled out his phone. No, 3 phones from different pockets, and selected one. He spoke rapid Italian to whoever answered, then switched to English. I need a protective detail at this address immediately. He looked at me expectantly. I gave him my address, each word feeling like a betrayal of the small life I'd built. Bring the child and the neighbor to the Riverside property. Secure the perimeter. No one in or out without my authorization. He ended the call. They'll be here within the hour. Mrs. Chen will be terrified. Mrs. Chen will be alive. So will your daughter. That's what matters. He moved closer, crouching in front of me so we were eye level. This close, I could see the faint lines around his eyes, the small scar on his chin, the absolute certainty in his gaze. I don't know you, Sarah Mitchell, but you saved my life tonight, whether you intended to or not. In my world, that creates a debt, and I always pay my debts. I don't want your money. Good, because what I'm offering is far more valuable. His hand reached out, fingers grazing my jaw in a touch so gentle it seemed impossible. I'm offering you a chance to never be afraid again, to never worry about rent or medicine or men who hurt women. I'm offering you my protection. Protection comes with a price, always. He didn't deny it, but perhaps not the price you're imagining. Before I could ask what he meant, one of his men appeared in the doorway. Boss, Volkov's people are moving. We have reports of crews checking hospitals, police scanners. They're looking for their men. Dante stood immediately, the gentleman vanishing, replaced by the cold strategist. Lockdown protocol. Move Sarah and her family to Riverside immediately. I want 24-hour rotation. Best men only. He glanced at me. Gather your things, whatever you came with. I came with a delivery bag covered in marinara sauce. His lips twitched. Then you're traveling light. Matteo will take you to collect your daughter. I'll meet you at the safe house. You're not coming with us? I have business to attend to. The way he said business made ice crawl down my spine. Konstantin made a move tonight. I need to respond appropriately. I stood on shaking legs. The bodyguard, Matteo apparently, waited by the door, his expression neutral. This was happening too fast, too much. 12 hours ago, my biggest concern was making rent. Now I was being swept into a world of violence and power I'd only seen in movies. Sarah. Dante's voice stopped me at the door. I turned to find him watching me with that intense focus that made me feel simultaneously exposed and protected. Trust me. Just for tonight. Tomorrow, we'll discuss the details. But tonight, trust that I will keep you and your daughter safe. I wanted to argue, to demand answers, to run. But I thought of Lily, my baby girl with her father's eyes and my stubborn chin. I thought of the eviction notice, The unpaid bills, the constant grinding fear that had been my companion for 2 years. And I thought of the calm certainty in Dante Moretti's voice when he promised protection. "Okay," I whispered. "Just for tonight." The ride to my apartment was silent except for the rain drumming on the roof of the black SUV. Mateo drove with professional efficiency. Another guard in the passenger seat. Both men constantly scanning our surroundings. The vehicle was luxurious, leather seats, tinted windows, a smoothness that made my Honda feel like a tin can on wheels. My apartment building looked shabbier than usual in the SUV's headlights. Cracked concrete steps, graffiti on the walls, a broken security door that never locked. Mateo parked directly in front, and both men exited first, checking the area before opening my door. "Third floor, apartment 3C, I said. They flanked me as we climbed the stairs, their presence both comforting and surreal. Mrs. Chen's door opened before I could knock, and I found myself looking at my elderly neighbor's terrified face. "Sarah, what's happening?" These men came, said I had to pack Lily's things, that we had to go. "It's okay, Mrs. Chen. It's safe. I promise." I pushed past her into the small apartment, nearly identical to mine. Lily was asleep on the couch, her tiny body curled around her favorite stuffed rabbit, dark curls spread across the pillow. My heart clenched. She looked so small, so innocent, so utterly unaware that her mother had just dragged her into a nightmare. "We need to move," Mateo said quietly from the doorway. Now, I gathered Lily carefully, and she stirred, blinking sleepy eyes at me. "Mama?" "Shh, baby. We're going on an adventure. Go back to sleep." She tucked her face against my neck trustingly, already drifting off again. Mrs. Chen gathered the diaper bag and Lily's favorite blanket with shaking hands. "What about my apartment?" I asked Mateo. "My things. We'll send someone tomorrow to collect whatever you need. Right now, we leave." The safe house was 40 minutes outside the city, a sprawling property hidden behind high walls and electronic gates. The main house was modern, all glass and clean lines, lit from within like a jewel box. Gardens surrounded it, manicured even in the rain, with security lights illuminating the perimeter. Mateo pulled into a circular driveway, where another SUV was already parked. Men in dark suits moved in the shadows, their presence both obvious and discreet. A woman appeared at the front door, mid-50s, elegant in casual slacks and a cashmere sweater, her gray hair pulled back in a neat bun. "I'm Elena," she said with a warm smile that seemed genuine despite the circumstances. "I manage the household. Come, let me show you to your rooms." The interior was beautiful, hardwood floors, expensive furniture, artwork on the walls, but it was also clearly fortified. I noticed the security cameras, the reinforced doors, the way every window had both curtains and metal shutters. "The child's room is here," Elena said, opening a door to reveal a space that looked like something from a magazine. Soft pink walls, a beautiful crib, toys arranged on shelves. I took the liberty of preparing it. "If there's anything else you need, this is too much," I whispered. "Mr. Moretti insists on the best for his guests." Elena's smile was knowing. "Please make yourselves comfortable. I'll bring you some tea." I laid Lily in the crib, covering her with her worn blanket that looked ridiculous in this pristine room. She sighed contentedly, completely oblivious. Mrs. Chen touched my arm. "Sarah, what have you gotten involved in?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But it's going to be okay. It has to be." The words felt like a prayer to a God I wasn't sure was listening. I didn't sleep. How could I, in a stranger's house, surrounded by armed men, my daughter breathing softly in the next room while somewhere in the city, a mafia war might be brewing because of me? I sat in the window seat of my assigned bedroom, a space larger than my entire apartment, with a king-sized bed covered in Egyptian cotton sheets and an ensuite bathroom with marble countertops. Through the rain-streaked glass, I watched shadows move across the grounds. Guards. Dante's men, protecting us from threats I couldn't see but knew were real. Around 3 a.m, headlights swept across the driveway. A black car, sleeker, more expensive than the SUVs, pulled up to the entrance. Even from the second floor, I recognized the figure that emerged. Dante Moretti, arriving like he owned the night itself. My heart rate kicked up traitorously. I told myself it was fear, residual adrenaline, anything but the truth, that something about this dangerous man called to something equally dangerous in me. I heard him enter the house, heard the low murmur of Italian as he spoke with his men, then footsteps on the stairs, moving with purpose. A soft knock on my door. I crossed the room, hesitated with my hand on the handle. Yes? It's Dante. May I come in? I opened the door to find him standing in the hallway, jacket gone, shirt sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms corded with muscle and marked with scars. He looked tired, I realized. The perfect facade showed cracks, tension around his eyes, a tightness to his jaw. Did I wake you? He asked. I wasn't sleeping. No, I didn't think you would be. He glanced past me into the room. May I? I stepped aside, acutely aware of my borrowed pajamas, soft cotton that Elena had provided, far nicer than anything I owned. Dante entered, his presence immediately making the large room feel smaller, the air thicker. Is Lily settled? He asked. The fact that he remembered my daughter's name shouldn't have surprised me, but it did. She's sleeping. She doesn't know anything's wrong. Good. Let's keep it that way. He moved to the window where I'd been sitting, looking out at his domain. Constantine's men are all dead or scattered. The ones who survived tonight won't talk. I've sent word through channels that there will be consequences if he targets civilians connected to this incident. Will that stop him? No. His honesty was brutal. But it will make him cautious, buy us time. Time for what? He turned, and the look in his eyes made my breath catch. To figure out what to do with you, Sarah Mitchell. The way he said my name, like it was something precious, something to be savored, sent heat curling through my stomach. I wrapped my arms around myself defensively. You could just let me go, pretend tonight never happened, could I? He moved closer, each step deliberate. Even if I wanted to, which I don't, it's too late. Constantine knows someone interfered. He'll hunt until he finds answers. And you. He stopped a foot away, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. You're too memorable to hide. I'm nobody. A delivery driver. You're a woman who disarmed a trained killer with a bag of pasta. His lips curved slightly. You're a survivor who escaped an abuser and built a life from nothing. You're a mother who works herself to exhaustion to provide for her child. His hand rose, fingers grazing my cheek so gently I barely felt it. You are many things, Sarah, but nobody isn't one of them. I should have stepped back. Should have put distance between myself and this man who dealt in death, who controlled an empire built on violence and fear. But I stood frozen, caught by the intensity in his gaze, by the strange gentleness in his touch. What do you want from me? I whispered. Right now? I want you to sleep, to feel safe. Tomorrow we'll talk about the rest. The rest of what? His thumb traced my jawline, and I shivered. The rest of your life. Because whether you like it or not, you're under my protection now. That means you're mine to keep safe. The possessiveness in his voice should have terrified me. Instead, it kindled something warm and dangerous in my chest. I'm not property. No, he agreed. You're far more valuable than that. Before I could process that statement, he stepped back, the spell breaking. Sleep, Sarah. I'll have breakfast sent up. Tomorrow, we discuss your options. He was at the door when I found my voice. Dante? He paused, looking back. Thank you. For protecting Lily. Whatever else happens. Thank you for that. Something softened in his expression. I would never let harm come to a child, especially not yours. He hesitated, then added, My mother died when I was Lily's age. I know what it is to be vulnerable in a dangerous world. I won't let that happen to her. Then he was gone, the door clicking shut behind him, leaving me alone with the revelation that the infamous Dante Moretti had just shown me a glimpse of the human beneath the monster. Morning came with weak sunlight filtering through clouds. I woke with a start, disoriented by the unfamiliar room, before memory crashed back. Mafia, gunfight, Dante. Lily's voice drifted from the next room, happy babbling punctuated by Mrs. Chen's gentle responses. I found them in the nursery. my daughter playing with toys that must have appeared overnight, looking utterly content. "Mama!" She toddled over, arms raised, and I swept her up, breathing in her baby shampoo scent like it could anchor me to sanity. "Someone brought breakfast," Mrs. Chen said, gesturing to a rolling cart laden with food. Fresh fruit, pastries, eggs, bacon, enough to feed a family for a week. "Sarah, this is insane. We can't stay here. We don't have a choice." "There's always a choice." Before I could respond, Elena appeared in the doorway. "Good morning. I hope you slept well. Mr. Moretti would like to see you in his study when you're ready. I'll watch the little one." My stomach clenched. "Now?" "Whenever you're comfortable. He's been in meetings all morning, but he asked me to fetch you when you woke." Elena smiled at Lily. "And this angel is welcome to play in the garden. We have a wonderful play area." I looked at Mrs. Chen, who nodded reluctantly. "Go. I'll stay with her." 20 minutes later, showered and dressed in clothes that had mysteriously appeared in my closet, designer jeans that fit perfectly, a soft sweater in deep blue, I followed Elena through the house. In daylight, I could see more details. The security measures disguised as decor, the way every room had multiple exits, the expensive art that probably cost more than I'd earn in a lifetime. The study was all dark wood and leather, bookshelves lining the walls, a massive desk dominating one end. Dante stood by the window, phone to his ear, speaking rapid Italian. He wore charcoal slacks and a white shirt, sleeves rolled up, looking both relaxed and utterly in command. He ended the call when he saw me, setting the phone aside. "Sarah, come in." I entered cautiously, hyper-aware of the door closing behind me, sealing us in together. "You wanted to see me?" "I wanted to talk about your situation." "Please, sit." He gestured to a leather armchair facing the desk. I sat, and he moved to lean against the desk, close enough that I could see the dark stubble along his jaw, smell his cologne, something cedar and spice that made my pulse quicken. "I've had my people investigate your background," he said without preamble. Anger flared. "You had no right. I had every right. You're under my protection. That means I need to know everything." His tone brooked no argument. "Your ex-boyfriend, Marcus Reeves. He's been looking for you." Ice flooded my veins. "What?" "He filed a custody claim 6 months ago. Says you kidnapped his daughter, that he wants her back." Dante's expression was unreadable. "Of course the claim is fraudulent. Lily isn't his biological child." My hands clenched in my lap. "How do you—" "I had a DNA analysis run from the hospital records when she was born. Her father is—" He consulted a paper on his desk. "Daniel Chen, Mrs. Chen's nephew, currently serving 8 years for armed robbery." The room spun. I'd never told anyone about Danny, my brief, stupid relationship with a man who'd seemed kind, until I'd discovered what he really did for a living. I'd fled before he was arrested, before he could drag me into his world, and now I'd stumbled into an even darker one. "Marcus doesn't know she's not his," I whispered. "He thinks. He believes he owns you both." Dante's voice hardened. "He's been tracking you through social services, staying just within legal boundaries, until you disappeared last night. Oh God. He filed a missing persons report this morning, claimed you might be in danger, that he's worried for his daughter's safety." Dante's smile was cold, clever. "If the police find you here, it becomes complicated. So what do I do?" He moved then, crouching in front of my chair the way he had last night, forcing me to meet his eyes. "You let me handle it. Marcus Reeves is a problem I can solve very easily." The implication hung heavy in the air. "You mean kill him, if necessary?" No hesitation. Though I prefer cleaner solutions when children are involved. Perhaps he simply disappears, moves across the country, starts a new life, forgets he ever knew you. You can't just... Sarah. His hands covered mine, warm and strong. "What did Marcus do to you?" I tried to pull away, but he held firm, not painfully, but unyielding. "It doesn't matter." "It matters to me." The gentleness in his voice broke something in me. Words spilled out, ugly and raw. "He hit me." "Not at first. At first he was perfect, charming, attentive. Then Lily was born. And he changed. Said I'd gotten fat, that I was a bad mother, that no one else would ever want me. He controlled everything. The money, where I went, who I saw. When I tried to leave, my voice cracked. He put me in the hospital, broke 3 ribs in my wrist, told the doctors I'd fallen down the stairs. Dante's expression never changed, but something dark and terrible flickered in his eyes. How did you escape? Danny's sister, Mrs. Chen's daughter, she helped me. Got me and Lily out while Marcus was at work. Drove us to a women's shelter 3 states away. I changed my name, got a new ID, started over. I laughed bitterly. Thought I was safe. You are safe. Dante's grip tightened. Marcus Reeves will never touch you again. I promise you that. Why? The question burst out. Why do you care? You don't know me. I'm nothing to you. You saved my life. Your men would have... Stop saying that. He stood abruptly, pulling me up with him. We were inches apart, his hand still holding mine. You acted when you could have run. You chose to fight instead of hide. Do you know how rare that is? How valuable? I'm not valuable, I'm a mess. A broke single mother with an abusive ex and a criminal baby daddy who doesn't even know she exists. You're a survivor. His voice dropped, intimate. You're strong and smart and brave. And you're exactly the kind of person I want in my life. The air between us crackled with tension. I should have stepped back, should have remembered who he was, what he did. But all I could think about was the warmth of his hands, the intensity in his eyes, the strange safety I felt in his presence despite every logical reason to run. What are you saying? I whispered. I'm saying I want you to stay. Not as a temporary guest, not just until the threat passes. His thumb traced circles on the back of my hand. I want you here, with me. You and Lily. Protected, provided for, safe. As what? Your mistress? Your kept woman? As whatever you want to be. He released one hand to cut my face. I won't lie to you, Sarah. I'm a dangerous man. I've done terrible things. I'll do more terrible things, but I protect what's mine, and I'm asking you to be mine. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was insane. Impossible. Everything I should refuse. But when I looked into Dante Moretti's eyes, I didn't see a monster. I saw a man offering me something I'd never had. True protection. Real safety. A chance to stop running. I need to think. I managed and think. He stepped back, giving me space. Stay here. Let me handle Marcus and Constantine. Get to know this life. Then decide. A knock on the door interrupted us. One of Dante's men entered, his expression grim. Boss, we have a situation. Marcus Reeves just showed up at Sarah's old apartment with police. He's claiming she kidnapped his daughter. Dante's jaw tightened. And? He has a court order. Emergency custody based on the missing persons report. They're looking for her now. The trap was closing. I could feel it. The walls pressing in. Dante looked at me, and I saw the calculation in his eyes. The strategic mind working through options. Then his expression cleared, and he smiled. A dangerous, predatory smile. Then let's give them something to find, he said. Get the documents ready. All of them. What documents? I asked. He turned to me, and the look on his face made my stomach flip. The ones that prove you're under the protection of someone Marcus Reeves would be very foolish to cross. The ones that make it clear that any attempt to take Lily will result in consequences he can't imagine. What are you going to do? His smile widened. I'm going to pay Mr. Reeves a visit and explain exactly how his life is about to change. The next 6 hours passed in a blur of controlled chaos. Dante disappeared with half his men, leaving Matteo and a full security detail at the house. Elena kept Lily entertained in the garden while Mrs. Chen and I waited in the living room, tension thick enough to choke on. This is madness, Mrs. Chen whispered for the 100th time. We should call the police, tell them everything. And say what? That a mafia boss is protecting us from my abusive ex-boyfriend? That'll go well. I paced the length of the windows, watching the guards patrol outside. Dante said he'd handle it. And you trust him? A criminal? I stopped, considering. Did I trust him? This man I'd known less than 24 hours, who killed people as casually as I delivered food, who controlled an empire of violence I couldn't begin to understand. But I remembered the gentleness in his touch, the fury in his eyes when I'd told him about Marcus, the way he'd promised to keep Lily safe. And I remembered something else, the absolute certainty in his voice when he gave orders, the unwavering confidence of a man who always got what he wanted. I trust that he doesn't make promises he can't keep, I said finally. The sound of cars in the driveway made us both jump. Through the window, I watched the black SUVs pull up, Dante emerging from the lead vehicle with that same unhurried grace. He was alone. No Marcus, no police, no sign of the confrontation I'd been dreading. He entered the house, and I met him in the foyer, my heart in my throat. What happened? It's handled. He pulled off his jacket, handed it to Elena without looking. Marcus Reeves has withdrawn his custody claim and missing persons report. He's also signed a legal document relinquishing all claims to Lily, now and forever. I stared at him. How? What did you... I made him understand the situation. Dante's smile was cold. He was very cooperative once he realized the alternative. You didn't kill him. I told you. I prefer cleaner solutions when children are involved. He moved closer, and I caught the scent of smoke on his clothes, something acrid that made my stomach turn. Though I did ensure he understands the consequences of ever approaching you again. He's currently on a flight to Seattle with a new job, and a very strong incentive to stay there. You can't just... I can. I did. His hand cupped my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone. You're safe now, Sarah. Truly safe. Marcus is gone. Constantine has been neutralized. You can breathe. The relief that crashed through me was so intense my knees buckled. Dante caught me, pulling me against his chest, and I let myself collapse into his strength. For the first time in 2 years, I wasn't looking over my shoulder, wasn't calculating escape routes, wasn't terrified that every knock on the door might be Marcus coming to finish what he'd started. Thank you, I whispered against his shirt, feeling his heartbeat steady beneath my cheek. His arms tightened around me. You don't need to thank me for protecting what's mine. There was that possessiveness again, that casual claim of ownership. I should have resented it, should have pulled away. But instead I burrowed closer, letting myself be held by this dangerous man who'd somehow become my salvation. Mr. Moretti? Elena's voice broke the moment. The items you requested have arrived. Dante released me slowly, reluctantly. Bring them to the study. Sarah, come with me. I followed him back to the familiar room, now with afternoon sunlight streaming through the windows. On his desk sat several boxes, sleek white packaging with designer logos I recognized from magazine ads. What is this? I asked. I took the liberty of having some things delivered. Clothes, toiletries, items for Lily. He opened one box to reveal a stunning dress in deep emerald silk. I'm hosting a dinner tonight. I'd like you to attend. My stomach clenched. A dinner? With who? Business associates. People who need to see that you're under my protection. That harming you means answering to me. He pulled out the dress, holding it up to me. This will suit you perfectly. I can't go to a Mafia dinner. You can, and you will. His tone left no room for argument. These people operate on perception. Right now, they're wondering who you are, why I've extended my protection to a stranger. If you hide, they'll see weakness. But if you appear at my side, confident and claimed, he smiled, they'll understand exactly how valuable you are to me. This is insane. I don't know how to act at fancy dinners. I'll embarrass you. Sarah. He set down the dress, gripping my shoulders. You disarmed a trained killer with pasta. You survived an abuser and built a life from nothing. You can handle a dinner party. His eyes softened slightly. Besides, I'll be with you. Every moment. No one will dare make you uncomfortable. The promise in his voice sent warmth through my chest. What if I say no? Then I'll respect that. But I'm asking you to trust me, one evening. Let me show my world that you're important to me. Important. The word hung between us, weighted with meaning I wasn't sure I understood. but I found myself nodding. Okay, one dinner. His smile could have lit the city. Good. Elena will help you get ready. The guests arrive at 8. The dress fit like it had been made for me, which, given Dante's resources, it probably had been. Deep green silk that hugged my curves and fell to mid-thigh, with a neckline that was suggestive without being obscene. Elena had done my makeup, kept my hair simple but elegant, and provided jewelry that probably cost more than my car. I stared at my reflection and didn't recognize the woman looking back. She looked sophisticated, confident, like she belonged in this world of luxury and danger. You look beautiful, Elena said, smiling. Mr. Moretti won't be able to take his eyes off you. That's what I'm afraid of, I muttered. A knock on the door, and Dante entered without waiting for permission. He stopped when he saw me, and something flared in his eyes. Heat and possession, and something darker that made my pulse race. Perfect, he said softly, moving closer. Absolutely perfect. He was devastating in a tailored black suit, dark tie, his hair styled back from his face, the civilized veneer of wealth and power, barely concealing the predator beneath. He offered his arm. Ready? I took it, feeling the solid strength of muscle beneath expensive fabric, as I'll ever be. The dinner was held in the formal dining room, a space I hadn't seen before, all crystal chandeliers and mahogany furniture. 20 people were already mingling, drinks in hand, conversations pausing as we entered. Every eye turned to us, to me. Dante's hand settled possessively on the small of my back. Gentlemen, ladies, allow me to introduce Sarah Mitchell. She's under my personal protection. The message was clear. Touch her and die. An older man approached, silver-haired and distinguished in an expensive suit. Dante, always full of surprises. And who is this lovely creature? Sarah. This is Vincent Calabrese. He oversees our shipping operations. Dante's tone was pleasant, but I felt the warning beneath it. Vincent, mind your manners. Vincent laughed, but his eyes assessed me like I was merchandise. Of course. It's a pleasure, my dear. The evening progressed in a blur of introductions and careful conversations. I learned quickly that everyone here dealt in various criminal enterprises, shipping, construction, waste management, all fronts for money laundering and worse. They spoke in code, euphemisms that barely concealed the violence underlying every transaction. And they all deferred to Dante with a mixture of respect and fear. Dinner was served in courses I couldn't name, paired with wines that probably cost more per bottle than my monthly rent used to be. I sat at Dante's right hand, his presence a constant anchor as I navigated conversations about topics I barely understood. So Sarah, a woman named Isabella asked from across the table, her eyes calculating. How did you and Dante meet? The table quieted, everyone pretending not to listen while hanging on every word. I met Dante's eyes, saw the slight nod. Tell the truth. I was delivering food to his penthouse, I said evenly. 4 men tried to kill him. I stopped one of them. Silence. Then Vincent laughed, a genuine sound. She disarmed one of Volkov's men? With what? A bag of chicken parmigiana, Dante said, his lips quirking. It was quite impressive. The table erupted in laughter, the tension breaking. Isabella's expression shifted from calculation to something like respect. Resourceful. I like her. So do I, Dante said softly, his hand finding mine under the table, fingers interlacing. The gesture was intimate, possessive, and utterly deliberate. Everyone saw it. Everyone understood. Dante Moretti was claiming me. After dinner, guests moved to a smoking room for cigars and whiskey. Dante excused us, leading me out to a terrace that overlooked the gardens. The night air was cool, stars visible beyond the city lights. You did beautifully, he said, turning me to face him. They respect you now. That makes you safer. Safer in a world I never wanted to be part of. But you are part of it now. His hand settled on my waist, pulling me closer. The question is whether you'll embrace it or fight it. I looked up at him. This dangerous man who'd upended my life in less than 2 days. What do you want from me, Dante? Really? I want you to stay. I want to wake up knowing you're here, safe, protected. I want to give Lily everything she deserves. The best schools, the best life. His thumb traced my jaw. I want you in my bed, in my life, in my world. Completely. My breath caught. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you're brave and strong and loyal. I know you fight for what matters. I know you make me feel... He paused, searching for words. I've spent 20 years building an empire, eliminating threats, taking what I want. Nothing has ever challenged me, until a delivery girl with a bag of pasta brought me to my knees. I didn't. You did. His forehead touched mine. You saved my life, and now I can't imagine it without you in it. Tell me you feel it too, this connection. I did feel it. This impossible pull toward a man I should fear, this sense of safety in the arms of someone who dealt in violence. It was insane, reckless, and undeniable. I feel it, I whispered, but I'm scared. Good, fear keeps you alive, but don't fear me. His lips brushed mine, feather-light. I would never hurt you, Sarah. I would burn the world before I let anyone touch you. Then he kissed me properly, and the world narrowed to the heat of his mouth. The strength of his arms, the way he held me like I was precious and dangerous all at once. I kissed him back, pouring 2 years of loneliness and fear into the embrace, letting myself fall into this impossible thing between us. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes were dark with want. Stay with me tonight. Not in the guest room. In my bed. Let me show you how thoroughly I intend to claim you. Every reasonable part of my brain screamed warnings. But the part that had fought Marcus, that had disarmed a killer, that had survived against impossible odds, that part knew the truth. I was already his. Had been since the moment he'd looked at me with those dark eyes and promised protection. Yes, I breathed. His smile was triumphant and tender all at once. He swept me into his arms like I weighed nothing. And I laughed, actually laughed, as he carried me back through the house, ignoring the knowing looks from his departing guests. His bedroom was masculine and luxurious. Dark colors, expensive furniture, a bed large enough for 4 people. He set me down gently, then just looked at me, drinking in the sight. "You're sure?" he asked, giving me one last chance to run. I reached for his tie, loosening it with trembling fingers. "I'm sure." He caught my hands, bringing them to his lips. "Then let me worship you the way you deserve." And he did. For hours, he took me apart with gentle hands and wicked mouth, showing me pleasure I'd never imagined, making me cry out his name until my voice went hoarse. He was demanding but patient, possessive but careful, learning every sound I made, every place that made me gasp. When he finally entered me, our eyes locked, and I saw past the dangerous crime lord to the man beneath, scarred and lonely and desperate for connection just like me. "Mine," he growled as we moved together. "Say it, Sarah. Say you're mine." "Yours," I gasped, meaning it with every fiber of my being. "I'm yours." We fell apart together, and in that moment, I knew there was no going back. I'd crossed a line I couldn't uncross, given myself to a man who would never let me go, and I didn't want him to. Afterward, he held me against his chest, his heartbeat steady beneath my ear. "I meant what I said," he murmured into my hair. "You and Lily are under my protection. Permanently. I'll give you everything. A home, security, a life without fear. What about love?" The question slipped out before I could stop it. He tilted my face up, and the look in his eyes stole my breath. "I've killed men for looking at me wrong. I've built an empire on blood and fear. I don't know if I'm capable of love the way normal people are." He kissed me softly. "But what I feel for you terrifies me more than any enemy ever has. If that's not love, it's close enough." Tears pricked my eyes. "I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to be with someone like you." "Then we'll figure it out together." He pulled the covers over us, tucking me against his side. "Sleep, amore mio. Tomorrow we start our life. Tonight just let me hold you." I closed my eyes, safe in the arms of the most dangerous man I'd ever met. And for the first time in years, I slept without nightmares. 3 months later, I stood in the nursery watching Lily play with her new toys, a collection that had grown exponentially since moving into Dante's main residence in the city. The penthouse where we'd first met had been abandoned after that night. Too many bad memories. Instead, we lived in a historic brownstone in the most exclusive neighborhood, protected by state-of-the-art security and round-the-clock guards. My daughter had adapted with the resilience only children possess. To her, the men in suits were Mama's friends. The lavish house was just home, and Dante was simply Tay-Tay, her toddler approximation of his name that made the fearsome Mafia boss melt every single time. I heard him now, his footsteps on the stairs, the low murmur as he spoke Italian into one of his phones. Business never stopped for Dante Moretti, but he'd made adjustments. Dinners with us every night unless absolutely unavoidable. Mornings with Lily before she went to her new preschool. The best in the city, naturally. And nights. Nights were ours. He appeared in the doorway, ending his call, his expression softening when he saw us. "How are my girls?" Lily squealed and ran to him. He scooped her up effortlessly, and my heart clenched at the sight of this dangerous man cradling my daughter with such careful gentleness. "Tay-Tay, look!" She showed him a stuffed elephant he'd bought her last week. "Very beautiful, Piccola, just like your mama." His eyes found mine over her dark curls, heat and affection mixing in that look. 3 months, and I still wasn't used to the intensity of his attention, the way he looked at me like I was the most valuable thing in his world. "She needs a nap," I said, moving to take her. "I'll put her down." He carried Lily to her crib, sitting beside it and telling her a story in soft Italian until her eyes drifted closed. When he rejoined me in the hallway, he pulled me against him immediately, his hands settling possessively on my waist. "We need to talk." My stomach clenched. Those words never meant anything good. "About what?" "Come to my study." I followed him downstairs, noting the tension in his shoulders, the tight set of his jaw. Whatever this was, it was serious. In the study, he poured himself a whiskey, unusual for him during the day, and leaned against his desk. "I received word this morning. Daniel Chen is being released early. Good behavior." The room tilted. "Danny? Lily's father?" "Yes." Dante's expression was unreadable. "He'll be out in 2 weeks. And Sarah, he knows about Lily." Ice flooded my veins. "How?" "His aunt." Mrs. Chen felt guilty keeping the secret. She wrote to him 6 months ago, told him he had a daughter. Dante's voice was carefully neutral. "He's been fighting for early release ever since. His lawyer filed for custody rights." I sank into a chair, the implications crashing over me. He's a criminal." "So am I." Dante's smile was bitter. "The difference is, I've never been caught. Daniel Chen served his time. In the eyes of the law, he has parental rights." "No." The word came out fierce, protective. "He abandoned me. He chose crime over building a life. He doesn't get to waltz in now and play daddy." "I agree." Dante set down his glass, moving to crouch in front of me, taking my hands. "Which is why I have a proposition." The way he said it made my pulse race. "What kind of proposition?" "Marry me." I stared at him, certain I'd misheard. "What?" "Marry me, Sarah. Legally. Make Lily mine in the eyes of the law. Adopt her. Give her my name, my protection." His grip tightened. "As my wife and daughter, no judge would dare award custody to an ex-con. Daniel Chen would have to go through me, and he's not that stupid." My mind reeled. Marriage. To Dante Moretti. 3 months ago, I'd been delivering food to survive. Now he was proposing. "You don't want to marry me," I said weakly. It's a solution to a problem. It's the solution. And you're wrong. I do want to marry you." He cupped my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. "I told you 3 months ago that I wanted you in my life completely. That hasn't changed. If anything, it's become clearer every day. I want you as my wife. I want Lily as my daughter. I want the world to know you're mine." "Dante, I know I'm not offering you a normal life. I know what I am, what I do. But I can offer you safety, security, a life where you never have to be afraid again." His thumb brushed my cheek. "And I can offer you this, my complete devotion, my protection. Everything I have, everything I am." Tears stung my eyes. "What about love? You said you didn't know if you were capable." I lied. The confession was raw. I've been in love with you since you threw pasta at a contract killer to save my life. I just didn't know how to say it without sounding like a madman. A laugh bubbled out of me, watery and surprised. You're definitely a madman. But I'm your madman. He kissed me softly. Marry me, Sarah. Let me give you my name. Let me protect you and Lily for the rest of my life. Say yes. I looked into his eyes and saw the truth. This dangerous, powerful man loved me, had chosen me, wanted to build a life with me despite coming from completely different worlds. And I loved him too. Tim had fallen for him somewhere between that first terrifying night and now, had learned that beneath the ruthless crime lord was a man capable of tenderness, of devotion, of fierce protection for those he claimed as his. Yes, I whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. His smile was blinding. He kissed me deeply, possessively, claiming my mouth like he was sealing a vow. When we broke apart, he was already pulling out his phone. I'll have everything arranged. We'll marry this weekend. Small ceremony, just family and close associates. Then we'll file the adoption papers immediately. He was already in planning mode, the strategic mind taking over. Daniel Chen won't know what hit him. This weekend? That's 3 days. Long enough. He pulled me to my feet, wrapping his arms around me. I've waited 3 months to make you mine legally. I'm not waiting any longer. The wedding was everything I'd never let myself dream about. Dante insisted on the best, despite the short timeline. A designer gown that fit like a dream, flowers filling the brownstones garden, a string quartet playing as I walked down the makeshift aisle. Mrs. Chen cried throughout the ceremony, happy tears this time. Elena stood as my maid of honor, having become a friend over the past months. Dante's men lined the garden in their expensive suits, every one of them armed, a reminder that this was still a Mafia wedding no matter how beautiful. And Dante? Dante looked at me like I was the only person in the world as I approached. He wore a tailored tuxedo that emphasized his powerful build, his dark eyes fierce with emotion, as I took his hand. The ceremony was short. We spoke traditional vows, exchanged rings. His a simple platinum band, mine a stunning diamond that probably cost more than most houses. When the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, Dante kissed me with an intensity that drew catcalls from his men and made me blush. Mine, he murmured against my lips. Finally, completely mine. Yours, I agreed, meaning it with every fiber of my being. The reception was lavish despite the small guest list. Lily, dressed in a tiny flower girl dress, charmed everyone, especially Dante. I watched him dance with her, this fearsome crime lord reduced to putty by a 3-year-old's giggle, and felt my heart overflow. You did good, Mrs. Chen said, appearing at my elbow. He loves you, really loves you. I know. I watched Dante spin Lily, her delighted laughter ringing out. I love him too. Is that crazy? Love is always a little crazy. She squeezed my hand. But this? This is right. I feel it in my bones. Later, after the guests had left, and Lily was asleep upstairs, Dante carried me to our bedroom, the master suite in the brownstone that had become our sanctuary. He set me down gently, then just looked at me in my wedding dress. Do you know, he said softly, that I never thought I'd have this? A wife, a family, a reason to come home beyond business. He started undoing the buttons of my dress, slow and deliberate. You've given me everything, Sarah Moretti. The new name sent shivers through me. You've given me everything too. Safety, security, a life I never dreamed possible. I'm just getting started. The dress pooled at my feet, and he lifted me onto the bed. I intend to spend the rest of my life giving you everything you deserve. He made love to me slowly, reverently, like I was something precious, and in his arms, I felt it. The complete safety, the absolute certainty that this man would move heaven and earth to protect me and Lily. Afterward, tangled in expensive sheets, his hand tracing lazy patterns on my skin, he said, "The adoption papers will be filed Monday. Within a month, Lily will legally be mine." What about Daniel? He'll receive notification that Lily has been adopted by her stepfather. He can contest it if he wants, but no judge will side with him. Not against me. His voice hardened. And I've made it very clear through appropriate channels that any attempt to contact you or Lily will have severe consequences. You threatened him. I promised him. Dante's smile was cold. There's a difference. Threats are possibilities. Promises are certainties. I should have been disturbed by the casual way he discussed ruining a man's life. But Daniel Chen had abandoned me pregnant and alone, had chosen crime over responsibility. He didn't get to claim fatherhood now that the hard work was done. Thank you, I said softly. For protecting her. For protecting us. Always. He pulled me closer, his heartbeat steady beneath my ear. You're my family now, amore mio, both of you. And I protect what's mine. 2 weeks later, I sat in a lawyer's office while Daniel Chen signed away his parental rights. Dante had made him an offer, a clean record, a job in another state, and a substantial sum of money in exchange for voluntary termination of rights. The alternative, delivered by Matteo in a private conversation, had been far less pleasant. Daniel took the deal. I watched him sign the papers, this man I'd once thought I loved, now a stranger with hard eyes and prison tattoos. He looked at me once, started to say something, then seemed to think better of it when he noticed Dante beside me, perfectly still and utterly menacing. It's done, the lawyer said, collecting the signed documents. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Moretti. Lily is officially your daughter. Outside, Dante helped me into the car, a new SUV, armored and bulletproof, because he took no chances with our safety. How do you feel? He asked. Free. I turned to him, taking his hand. Completely free. Marcus is gone. Daniel is gone. It's just us now. Our family. His smile was genuine, warm, so different from the cold mask he showed the world. Our family, he repeated, like the words were precious. I like the sound of that. At home, we picked up Lily from preschool together. She ran to us, chattering about her day, completely oblivious to the legal machinations that had just secured her future. Dante swept her up, and she wrapped her arms around his neck with complete trust. Dada, she said, the new word she'd started using last week. Dante's eyes met mine over her head, and I saw them glisten with moisture he'd never admit to. Yes, Piccola. Dada's here. Always. That night, after Lily was asleep, I found Dante in his study going over business documents. I wrapped my arms around him from behind, resting my cheek against his back. Thank you, I said, for everything, for saving us, for loving us. He turned, pulling me into his lap. You saved me first, remember? A delivery girl with a bag of pasta and more courage than an army. He kissed me softly. I was existing before you, Sarah, surviving. Building an empire but living in a tomb. You brought me back to life. We brought each other back, I corrected. Yes. His arms tightened around me, and now we build something new, together. A family. A future, something beyond the violence and fear. Can you really leave that world behind? No, he said honestly. I am who I am, but I can ensure it never touches you or Lily. I can create a sanctuary where you're both safe, loved, protected, where Lily grows up knowing security and affection instead of fear. His hand cupped my face. I can give you both everything I never had. I thought of that first night, standing in a penthouse holding a delivery bag while gunfire erupted around me. I thought of the terror, the adrenaline, the moment I'd made a choice that changed everything. And I thought of now, married to the most dangerous man in the city, mother to a little girl who'd never know poverty or fear, living in luxury I'd never imagined. It was insane, impossible, everything I should never have wanted. And it was perfect. I love you, I said, the words coming easily now. My dangerous, impossible, wonderful husband. I love you, amore mio. He stood, carrying me toward the stairs. Now let me show you exactly how much. As he carried me to our bedroom, past the security monitors and armed guards, past the evidence of his dangerous world, I felt nothing but complete certainty. This was my life now, our life. I'd walked into danger armed with nothing but pasta and desperation, and walked out with everything. A family, a future, a love so fierce it could survive anything. And Dante Moretti, former delivery girl's unexpected salvation, ruthless crime lord. And the man who'd promised to burn the world to keep me safe kept every single promise he made. Our story began with violence and fear, with 4 men who attacked a mafia boss and a delivery girl who changed everything with a single impulsive act. But it ended with love, with family, with a little girl calling a dangerous man Dada, and meaning it with her whole heart. It ended with me in the arms of a man who'd given me the world, and the absolute certainty that we'd protect this life we'd built together. No matter what came next, we'd face it the way we'd started, side by side, fierce and unafraid, together.